What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to veve Vibes. And today I'm going to be talking about my response, I guess, more or less, not to just Superstar Money's comic video about why digital comics might be worthless, and here's why. Also, other people's responses on Twitter, also on YouTube, things like that. So I have a little bit of a script here, not really. It's mostly just points I want to bring out. So I apologize if I kind of go off on a brief tangent a little bit. But if you guys have watched Bob Sale's like birthday bash, if you watched my live stream recently, even on Twitter, I've actually kind of talked about this quite a bit, and I've already kind of made my point kind of clear. But if you guys haven't watched my live streams or other people's stuff, I want to make it clear here. So first things first, like, I'm not a comic collector in like the traditional sense. Like, I bought some comics, I've done some things just kind of more of as a hobby. There's probably only 2 or 3 comics that actually might be like worth anything, but for the most part, I'm not like a true traditional comic collector. So to take that into consideration. And of course, none of this is financial advice, but in this video, I'm just going to be talking about personally why I buy digital comics. And I know the huge argument here, and we'll go ahead and just jump into it, is that essentially Superstar Money released a video a couple of days ago talking about digital comics, why they might be worthless. If you haven't checked it out, you should watch it. To be honest, I think they make a lot of good points. To be honest, they're kind of just speaking about the opinions of people that might be a bit more traditional in the comic book collecting realm, or just people just outside of the veve bubble. And believe it or not, there is a bubble of us, right, in the veve space. So like there's like the NFT bubble, then there's like the veve bubble, then there's like comic collecting bubble, like it's just multiple layers, right? And it just sounds like whenever, especially in this community or just this community in general, I realize like a lot of us have a lot of money in this space, you know, invested in veve and collectibles and crypto or whatever it is. So whenever kind of someone speaks out, has a differing opinion or speaks out against something, people tend to get very hyperbolic or just upset and speak out against it. But I think Superstar Money made some good points in this video. So obviously the community in general has definitely had a reaction to it. I feel like people went one of two directions very quickly. Either they agreed and said, yep. The long story short is that the comics that we're getting, both on DC Palm and on veve, a lot of the artwork is the facsimile, not the original artwork. So I guess the example they used was like AF-15 had like the web is like black instead of white, and then even some of the art differences on DC Palm with like Batman's shoulder, it looks like more like the facsimile rather than the original art, you know, decades and decades and decades ago. So that's kind of the argument that they're making. And not only that, they also talked about how essentially current comic book collectors in the formal sense that are collecting physical comics for decades, they're not going to get bought into this. And so the whole project is pretty much doomed to fail. I know that I'm kind of just simplifying things here. And I know with their titles, Superstar Money, they have to be a bit exaggerated and over the top to get clicks, right? Like, I don't think they genuinely mean they're going to be completely worthless and going to go to zero and everyone's going to lose all their money. But at the same time, it did get people's attention, including mine. At least with this, I do think in general I've visited about 5 or 6 different comic book shops all around the greater Phoenix area. I've talked to all of them about veve, and I just did collectibles just in the general sense, kind of brought up, I think, points that I think are valuable about it. And really only one of them actually heard me out and actually like looked at the app, looked at the comics. They liked the exclusive covers, this and that. All the other ones didn't really care. They kind of brushed it off, whatever. And part of it is, you know, I think one of it is too, is just the sunk cost fallacy, right? Either they just don't understand it and they don't want to take the time to understand it. Maybe it's a whole new space. They think, you know, it's a fad and people are just going to get over it, whatever. Or, you know, it's sunk cost fallacy in the sense of like, it would be kind of upsetting if someone approached you and said, hey, the way you've been collecting and your hobby and all this money you've been spending on all this stuff for the last, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40 years is, you know, wrong or different. And this is going to be the future. What you're doing now isn't going to last much longer, or it's not going to be the center of focus of Marvel going forward. So I could definitely see how they would be either upset or reluctant to learn about it, because this is just the realm they know and understand. But if they did take the time to learn and understand about digital comics, I do think they would be more inclined to actually like take a look at it and be a bit more involved. When we look at other people, you know, I see my collectibles here. He did a video kind of talking about it. It says digital NFT, Marvel and DC comics are the future. I think so as well. He brought up some good points that this is an entirely different medium. I mean, his background is in, you know, digital marketing, graphic design. He's been collecting as a hobby for both comics and physical collectibles for decades at this point. So he knows what he's talking about. But in this sense, you know, obviously there's some other people that disagreed with that as well, right? So I know veve Vault, he had some points that you want to make, that this is like a reproduction, you know, it's a reproduction of a reproduction or a reprint or whatever it is. I had some opinions too on that. I know the argument is mostly just about the art itself, but at least for me personally, Actually, there's another video here just talking. This was also 2 days ago, so I'm not sure if this was made before or after the video that Superstar Money made, but even they talk right here. Doctor of Stuff with Comics and Crypto, both of these guys, Sean and Spencer, they're talking about how it's the golden age of digital comics, right? So it's like literally within the same breath, we have people saying comics are going to zero, it's a digital reprint or reproduction. And then on the other side, we have people saying, hey, it's the golden age, this is the future, what are you thinking? To be honest, I'm somewhere in the middle. These are all, for me, the reason why I buy digital comics is that at the end of the day, I don't care what the art looks like. I don't care if it's a copy of a reprint of a scanned reproduction facsimile of the original. I don't care what the art is. These, at the end of the day, this is still the first officially licensed comics on the blockchain. So whatever this is, this Journey into Mystery 83, whatever this is, whether it's a facsimile or reprint or copy, and whether they did a little bit of art digitally or not, it doesn't matter to me personally. It's the first one that's ever been officially licensed and on the blockchain. That's all that matters to me. And me personally, until DC and or Marvel or whoever comes out, or veve comes out and says, yes, these are facsimile copies, these are not the original. By the way, this other platform that Marvel is creating, they're doing the original copies. They are NFTs. They're going to have a different type of utility, whatever. You know, I'll cross that bridge when we get there. But as of right now, we have nothing else to compare it to in the digital sense. Yeah, of course, right now, digitally, the physicals, there's like a facsimile copy and an original and even variations of the original and all that stuff, right? But as of right now, it's like these are the one and only officially licensed comics. So unless veve comes out with another Journey into Mystery that has the original art, or, you know, some other comic that has like the original art, and they officially say, hey, this is the original art, or we can just see the difference, then, you know, I'll just cross that bridge when we get there. But for me, as of right now, I'm just sticking to what's first. All this stuff that I'm seeing right here, I'm just kind of scrolling down and down and down. This is all first. It's first on the blockchain. Same thing with DC Palm. I don't have them pulled up, but as of right now, I have a little bit over 300 comics. I didn't even realize I passed 300 comics pretty recently. I probably did it pretty recently because all these comics I bought in the last probably 2 or 3 weeks. But at least me personally, I'm like in the middle. Like, I'm just like, I don't care if the art is original or not. I don't care if it is, or if it's a reproduction or a facsimile or a reprint or whatever. I just want what's first on blockchain. This is officially licensed material. Even if Marvel 5 years from now releases their own platform and they release original art of these comics, and, you know, they have comparable mints or whatever, then that's a debate we can have about, all right, at that point, it's what's more important, what's first on blockchain or what's first, like, you know, of the original art, right? And at that point, I think it depends on how important blockchain is and how integrated it is in society and popularity and all that kind of stuff. But that's a debate for another time. So at least for me personally, I don't really care. I do think the future is Marvel and DC. They're going to be supporting digital comics going forward. I mean, as much as you want to argue against like the art and whether traditional like comic book collectors are going to get involved with the platform, I think Marvel and DC know that, okay, we're not going to be able to tap into the traditional comic book collecting community. Like, even if 95% of them say they're not interested or they don't care, because, you know, they're in deep. A lot of them have spent, you know, tens of thousands or even some of them even millions of dollars opening up a store, buying these comics, trading, buying, selling, eBay, like all these things going on. But I think they understand that, like, all right, we're gonna have to tap into a new market. You know, people that are involved in crypto or just digital collectibles in general. That these are the people that we're gonna have to appeal to. And honestly, veve has turned me into a comic book collector in the sense of, like, I never thought twice about comics up until I got into veve, saw the covers, saw the history, realized that, oh, this is the first appearance of Hulk. This is the first appearance of the kind of like new arc or the new age of the X-Men that I know them, you know, from like the 90s cartoons. Like, okay, this is kind of where it all kicked off. This is where the story kicked off, which is Uncanny X-Men 94. Like, you know, and it appeals to my childhood. I loved watching X-Men as a kid, so I bought all these comics. I bought pretty much the full set from the common all the way up to the secret rare for X-Men 94. And so, if anything, like, veve's actually turned me into a comic book collector. I don't own these in real life, but I would like to own some of these in real life at some point. But at the end of the day, I think Marvel and DC realize that because the current traditional comic book collectors, Marvel and DC aren't getting royalties from those comics. Once they sell them to the bookstore or whoever, and they buy it and they sell it, and any other copies that Marvel and DC can't sell, I imagine they just throw it at Amazon or wherever they kind of just toss the excess inventory just to kind of get rid of it. You know, at that point, after it's sold there, you know, all the secondary sales of Miles Morales in graded cases, like, Marvel's not seeing any of that money. So as much as like people want to argue against like whether the comic cover and all that stuff, until we get a different cover of the original art or whatever it is, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm just collecting what's first, personally. And I think Marvel's just going to continue to support this. Same thing with DC. It just makes sense. So as much as you want to argue against, whether the art looks different or whether traditional comic book collectors are going to get involved, like even if only 5% of the traditional comic book collecting community gets involved, I still think that's a big win, because we're also going to have a whole lot of people. I would say 95% of people that are on veve buying comics aren't I wouldn't say real, but aren't traditional comic book collectors in the traditional sense. Like, I think 95% of us all of us know about Sleeping Comics and My Collectibles and Comics and Crypto and a handful of other people that do collect comics in real life. But like the other 99% of people on veve that buy comics, like they don't buy comics in real life, or if they do, very few. They're not like actually actively buying and selling comics online. So I want to look up another note here. The other thing too is that with these digital comics, as we all know, it's like Marvel's getting royalties for the life of these comics forever. Every time I resell, every time someone buys or sells or resells whatever, these comics, Marvel's getting paid. And I think that's going to heavily incentivize them to either come out with utility or give some sort of reason for people to actually buy and sell these comics, right? Basically, you can use the comics to fund their own utility. So every time someone buys or sells a Marvel Comics #1, Marvel gets paid, and they can use that money to then give utility to the Marvel Comic #1 collectors, either real life utility or cool animation or whatever it is. Who knows, right? As of right now, it's very simple in its form. You can just read the comic, put it in your showroom. You can still only see the cover. It's very simplistic in its form, but we have no idea what this stuff is going to look like in like 5 to 10 years, right? And the fact that Marvel can essentially still leverage the popularity of X-Men and Spider-Man and Marvel Comics #1 and Thor and this and that and the Avengers, they can still leverage that popularity and the fan appeal of those characters in a digital format and keep making money forever. Like, I think that's very, very, they're highly incentivized to keep that going, because right now every time a first appearance Thor comic sells on eBay, they're not seeing any of that money, and they're probably just saying like, wow, these comics are selling for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, and we're not seeing a penny of that. But if we release stuff in a digital format, we're getting paid for it. And now to incentivize further sales or for further people to hold them and increase the price over the long term, we're going to give them utility. And who knows what else Marvel's going to do. Whether they're going to allow us to, slab things. And I think even right now, like in the comic community, if you slab something, like Marvel doesn't see any of that slab fee or whatever, but who knows, in this digital platform, Marvel might offer like a slabbing thing where you can like slab your comic in the sense of like it's sealed up and now you can't open it. That makes it different than other comics. But I think collectors in general do like, at least like the big time collectors do like new mediums. So even though it might be unfamiliar territory with the whole digital aspect, but we've all seen documentaries or videos or whatever, people that like Star Wars. They're like, well, I like the Star Wars figurines. I buy these cards. I have these pogs. I have this like refrigerator that's themed after Star Wars. I bought this furniture. I bought this thing. Like, this poster, these consumable products. Like there was a series in, 1970, whatever, where they had a promotion for Star Wars, and there's like these soda cans. I collect those, like all these different mediums, right? Digital is just another medium, right? So I do think for like the very, very hardcore collectors out there, this is going to be exciting for them. And it's a whole new medium for them to basically grab these old school comics in their original, look, and actually kind of leverage that and enjoy the fandom. I think it's just for Marvel, it's like we get royalties for life. We're going to leverage that to give utility in a digital format and incentivize people to actually buy and sell these or hold them in the future. And not only that, we're going to give collectors a whole new way to enjoy their characters in a new medium. So, last little point here, even though you might not like the direction of digital comics or the art or whatever, or even if 99.9% of comic book collectors don't like this whole like digital format of comics, I think Marvel and DC realize like they're not trying to appeal to traditional comic book collectors. They're trying to get into a new medium, a new community of people that haven't really taken a look at comics, but it's so easily accessible now, right? You just log into veve, you buy your comic, and you own it. No longer do you have to like go on eBay and negotiate a price and wait for shipping and hope it works out and like look at a pricing tier list and all that kind of stuff. Like it's way more involved, in insurance and all that kind of stuff with comics, especially if you buy one that's like kind of pricey. Is it a scam? Is it a duplicate? Well, whatever it is. So there's a whole lot of issues that come with the physical comic collecting portion that you just don't have to deal with, period, when it comes to the digital aspect. So yeah, that's kind of the long story short of it. Long story short, I think Marvel and DC are going to continue to support the digital format. They're still getting paid for it to today. You know, comics that they released, you know, Marvel Comics #1 that Marvel sent out on veve a year and a half ago, they're still getting paid for it. And I think that's kind of the goal and incentive, is that they're getting royalties for life for these digital comics. So for me, I'm going with what's first. And until Marvel and DC basically come out with new comics saying these are facsimiles, or veve's platform is facsimiles and ours are the original, come to our platform. Until we get there, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But as of right now, I'm planting what's first. I enjoy X-Men, so I'm going to keep stacking those. And then that's it. Yeah, so I know, a little bit longer video than normal. I know I kind of went on a bit of a rant, but hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys double and triple check all of your listings so you don't screw yourself over. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I hope you guys take care. Bye-bye.